How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether price is going up or down. U.S. Treasury Janet Yellen working on SVB collapse, but not a bailout. United States Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is reportedly working with regulators to address Silicon Valley Bank collapse and protect investors, but not considering a major bailout. Yellen made the comments during an interview with CBS News on March 12th, saying, during the financial crisis, there were investors and owners of systemic large banks that were bailed out, and we're certainly not looking. And the reforms that have been put in place mean we're not going to do that again. But we are concerned about depositors and are focused on trying to meet their needs. Regarding the fact that most accounts on SVB are unsecured, Yellen noticed that regulators are very aware of the problems that depositors have. Many of them are small businesses that employ people across the country, and of course this is a significant concern, and working with regulators to address these concerns. But how dare crypto not be perfect, even though we're seeing all these banking issues? Data from the Federal Reserve shows that small banks in the U.S. had $6.8 trillion in assets and $680 billion in equity as of February 2023. According to Castle Hill Report, assets from Web3 venture capitalists totaled more than $6 billion at the bank, including $2.8 billion from Andreessen Horowitz, $1.72 from Paradigm, and $560 million from Pantera Capital. According to Yellen, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, is considering a wide range of available options, including acquisitions from foreign banks. FDIC was appointed as the receiver to protect uninsured deposits. However, the FDIC only insures up to $250,000 per depositor, per institution, per ownership category. So, likely most people are going to not get a lot of their money back, even if the FDIC does cover depositors, because the insurance only covers that amount. Silicon Valley Bank CEO cashed out shares and paid bonuses just before collapse. SVB CEO Greg Becker sold $2.27 million worth of the bank stocks on February 27th, according to an SEC filing. The sales were part of a 10b5-1 program that Becker filed on January 26th. Kind of sketchy dating, seems like he knew what was coming. Another SEC filing showed that Becker had sold $1.1 million in stocks to January to cover the tax liability. So in January he realized, hey, I don't have enough for my taxes, I'm going to have to sell to cover, and then I'm going to have to sell to get out. Meanwhile, a CNBC report said top executives at the embattled bank, including the CEO, sold shares worth $4.5 million before its collapse. Here's a little screenshot of the three sales, the CEO taking the majority of the money. The bonuses were for 2022 and had already been previously scheduled for March 10th. However, that's pretty poor business practice. I know most places that I've worked, you wouldn't get your bonus if your company's not making the profit they should. Billionaire investor Bill Ackman urged the government to bail out the bank because several large venture capitalist firms use it. According to Ackman, SVB's failure could be disastrous for the economy. He said the failure could destroy an important long-standing driver of the economy as VC-backed companies rely on SVB for loans and holding their operating cash. So, saying a lot of new businesses and economic growth may not be possible if we don't bail this company out. Several crypto community members have pointed out SVB's failure as proof of the united regulators and policymakers' hypocrisy. Anti-crypto lawmaker Senator Elizabeth Warren has especially come under criticism for tweeting about sham crypto audits when regulated banks are collapsing. Robert Kiyosaki warns third U.S. bank to crash. Peter Schiff says bigger collapse ahead. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, has warned that a third lender will likely follow suit, and he stressed that this situation will positively impact precious metals in a tweet March 10th. It will likely positively affect Bitcoin too, because Bitcoin was made because of the banking system sucks, so when the banking system falls apart, that's going to show Bitcoin's value. Kiyosaki's warning about a third bank collapse comes as speculation around the future of other crypto-friendly investment bank. Credit Suisse continues to mount. If we look right here, Taurus is a company that they're partnered with, Credit Suisse, and they led a Series B funding for like $65 million. So they don't really have very much crypto. So it's mainly just another typical bank going under that just started doing crypto. So that correlation there is just FUD. This is after the bank announced a delay in the annual report after the SEC call regarding the lender's cash flow statements for 2019 and 2020. So their last couple statements for the last few years have been in question. As a result, the bank shares hit an all-time low on March 10, 2023. Additionally, back in October 2022, Finbold reported that Graham Saffron, a real estate investor, suggested that Credit Suisse could be in a critical moment after the bank's credit default swaps, which is essentially insurance purchase against a potential default, costs have hit the highest since 2008. Peter Schiff also stated that the U.S. banking system is on the verge of experiencing a much bigger collapse compared to the 2008 crisis. On March 10th, Schiff cautioned that massive withdrawals could trigger failures. And there's not really too much there. Macroeconomist Hendrik Zemberg warns that worst market crash since 1929 is incoming, so a lot of people are kind of crapping their pants right now. Macro guru Hendrik Zemberg is issuing a dire warning to investors, saying that a type of market meltdown not witnessed in nearly a century is around the corner. He shares a chart that shows that the NAHB, National Association of Home Builders, housing market, HMI, and the U.S. unemployment rate tend to move in tandem with each other. According to him, the HMI and unemployment rate are behaving similar to the way they did in 2007. So if you look here, 1990, you kind of got a flat, a dip, and a flat, and then we got a big drop, and that was after we started to drop. This is unemployment, this is housing. So housing was starting to drop, and then we had the dot-com bubble, and then everything else started to drop. So over here in 2008, we had the same thing where this broke down, and then we kind of started flatlining on unemployment, unemployment bottomed, and then unemployment started to go up, and everything got worse. And then the same thing back in 2020. So you can see that there's these trends. This chart right here doesn't show the 1929 relation, but you can see how when we have this big break and we're kind of flattening out, that we could end up coming down and crashing like we have in the past. SVB is a catalyst for Fed chair Powell to pause. This is a time where the economy is not in a recession. The market response will be an extreme rally to all-time highs before recession sets and market crashes in the largest since 1929. So Zemberg is saying that we could see the market make a big rebound and then crash really hard. So onto the charts. Over on the daily, we got quite a bit of things drawn out. I'll move this here, but we can get about a 1.5% drawdown. We do have a bit of a cup here as we broke out of our symmetrical triangle bullishly, which I said on Twitter earlier that we could. So we're going to get rid of this pattern now. And we have a pretty good move up. We are getting a little bit of a pullback, but that's to be expected, as this could be a cup, and then we could drop down, make a handle. I'd expect some sort of resistance around this support level, and then after that, if we manage to make a strong bounce in this area, we could make a handle. We might even come down here for a longer handle, and then we could get a pretty good move up, as our neckline here would, from our neckline to the bottom of the cup, which I did right about here in the middle, could take us to about 23.2. So we could revisit this other channel that we were in and just blast through this channel. So likely we could see some volatility with this pattern that could carry us up as long as this money flow continues to keep moving. So we'll look at the higher time frames. We'll look a little backwards now. Money flow is coming up on the 1 hour. That's a positive sign. VWAP starting to come down, so medium term we could start to get that round off. So to be expected, momentum, stochastic, RSI are all about to kind of round off here. So 1 hour we're looking like we're going to kind of roll over, and we may not look too much at the 1 hour very much anymore. The 2 hour money flow is coming up. We want this to get a bullish cross here as well. Hopefully that can happen around that support level when we get a bounce. If we kind of reject away from there, that could be a sign that we may not see this pattern play out. You can see it's here on the 2 hour too. Stochastics just overbought, pretty much has nowhere to go. RSI is just maxing out on the 2 hour. VWAP tried to break down but keeps jumping back up. So we're looking pretty good on the 2 hour. If we look at the 4 hour, we have a big bullish divergence here that did play out. We have a red dot on our stochastic, so that's saying we could get a little bit of a cool off here. Momentum wave is peaking up. Could start to curl as we're all just seeing the white. We don't really see any of the blue. That's a little concerning for me right now. We'll want to see that kind of pick up and see more of that bigger blue. But this VWAP is kind of running pretty strong, so it could just be covering it. RSI is heading up pretty strong, like we said. So over on the daily, RSI is making a big curl up. Broke down to that neutral zone and just kind of bounced off it and started to run up. Stochastics heading up, money flow starting to curl. Our VWAP is making that cross. We are potentially going to get a green dot here. Oh, we do have a green dot here. Did today's candle not close yet? So we could get that green dot here on the daily. That could bring us up more. VWAP's making a good move, and our money flow, if that lower time frame money flow can continue that move up and bleed into the daily, we could see it start to curl up and start to carry upwards. So that is a real positive sign. We are getting a little bit of a bottom pattern here too on the daily. So we're looking overall pretty good. We are breaking bullishly out of this falling wedge that we had. So that could bring us to around 23K. So a little confirmation with that cup and handle that we have on the lower time frames. If we look over at graph, we'll start here on the daily and do this the normal way from the other tokens. We're getting a bit of a green dot here. Stochastic and momentum are kind of peaking up. Our money flow is curling up and our RSI is curling up. So looking pretty good. We're getting that same kind of rounding off here. So it could be a bottom signal here. Our momentum had a bullish divergence and we're kind of getting a run up here from it. Money flow's coming up on the 4 hour, looking pretty strong. Momentum might kind of curl here, so I'd be a little leery, but our VWAP is heading up pretty strong. So as long as everything else can hold, that VWAP can probably kind of round up and we won't have to worry about the curl. You can see sometimes you just get that wave and it won't mean much. Over on the 2 hour, our stochastic's pretty overbought, RSI is getting overbought, so pretty good because that can carry into the higher time frames and give them strength. Momentum's heading up really strongly. Money flow wants to make a bullish cross, so that's very positive. VWAP is coming down, getting a little bit of a cool off. Might have a little mini cup and handle here. Possibly two you could draw out, as this would be the cup and we could get a handle, and that would possibly take us near this 14-cent resistance area, just kind of eyeballing it. Over on the 1 hour, money flows in the green pretty strongly. VWAPs went to cross bearish, however it's kind of flat. Hopefully it can round off from here and carry up. Our RSI is heading up, stochastic's heading up, but our momentum looks like it might curl down. So 1 hour might get a little bit of cool off, which wouldn't be too bad because that could form our handle. Over on XRP, if we look at the daily, we did drop down pretty significantly, but we're getting a run up currently. Our VWAP is trying to curl up, money flow still coming out, RSI's kind of curling, and our stochastic wants to make that bullish curl. However, it's not getting too much momentum here as we did drop down, so kind of indecision in the market. This is a long lower shadow candle right now, which is a bullish candle. We'll have to see if that confirms when the market closes. We are getting a little bit of a bullish divergence as we made a lower low on price, and our momentum is making a higher low. So there is a slight bullish divergence that could save us. With that stochastic curls, that could give us a little bit of a pump up. Over on the 4 hour, we have a bullish divergence here. Stochastic and RSI are running up. My flow wants to cross pretty strongly, and we're potentially going to print a green dot. So the 4 hour is looking really strong here for some more move up. We did peak out of this channel, however, it's likely we may kind of break out of the channel again and get a move upwards right to that resistance around 38 cents. Over on the 2 hour, my flow broke bearish, however, it's starting to kind of curl up and could potentially break bullish. VWAP's heading up, stochastic and RSI are heading up, but the stochastic might cool off a little bit. We had a green dot in our momentum wave, and our momentum is heading up, so looking pretty decent on the 2 hour. If we look at the 1 hour, my flow's getting pretty close to a cross, but hasn't crossed. Be careful of a rejection. If we make a rejection here, then it's likely we'll start to fall. So over on algo, on the daily, we're kind of pumping to the top of our channel. Hopefully the FUD starts to subside around algo because everyone's just panicking about my algo hack, which had nothing to do with algo. Stochastic and RSI are making a bounce, VWAP's making a bounce, and we could get a green dot confirmation when this candle closes. Over on the 4 hour, kind of getting similar pattern, kind of more sloppy to make a cup here. Momentum wave's heading up, we're getting a green dot on the 4 hour. My flow's starting to head up after getting a little bit of a breakdown. RSI is heading up, but we're getting a red dot, and the stochastic's kind of losing some momentum here. So RSI and stochastic look like we could get a little bit of a breather here, but that kind of follows suit to the other coins. We are getting a little reversal arrow after pumping. Those are kind of dicey to read. Sometimes they mean that we could just fall, which would be what I would expect as a fall to make that handle and then pump up. However, they could also mean that this trend is over and we are now in an uptrend. So be wary of that. We could get our break up. That'd take us to about 22 cents. Stochastic and RSI are heading up, but they look like they might cool off for a little bit here. Momentum's heading up pretty strong. VWAP's pretty strong. So as long as these signals stay in these bullish territories, that'll be a pretty good sign. The 1 hour momentum wave's coming up, tried to break bearish, but we maintained the bullish hold. VWAP's coming down, so medium term we could come down. Momentum stochastic coming down, so again, medium term might get a little bit of breather, and then we could see a run up. So everything's looking pretty similar to each other. We could get a little bit of a cool off since we got a big run up, or we could see a big drop as everyone panics and freaks out because banks have issues tomorrow and no one can get their money. So we'll have to kind of see how the SVB thing is kind of handled by the emotions of the market. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.